I can change him. It's like, no, when has that ever worked? It's never worked.
That's funny. That's really good.
Yeah. It's just like, it's like I dated Crash last night. It's like, oh, is that the guy who broke into here? Funny story. He didn't actually do it. It's like, I want to believe it. The first thing I really wanted to start off with is I think I have contributed a total of $5 to your music career, because if you go on my phone, I think I've downloaded at least 5 songs. Now, again, I'm a picky person, so I might listen to it for like a week or a month and be like, okay, it's catchy, it's sticking with me. All right, I'll give him the $1.50 or the $1.99.
So thank you very much. That's amazing, to be honest. That's like the fact that you actually even that much just means so much to us.
I feel like there's more people out there like, really only $5? What a pulse. Like, I'm just like, excuse me.
You know how many times you have to either stream or actually buy to make $5? That's a decent amount.
Yeah. It's like I think it's funny because I will ask people when they ask like, oh, Brian, like you have a podcast, like how many subscribers you got? I'm like, oh, let's not go there, okay? Because people will listen to your show, but they won't subscribe. And I was like, I always tell my friends, I'm like, why do you do that? And they're like, don't you watch wrestling videos for like 5 years and never subscribe to the channel? I'm like, hey, don't point out the hypocrisy here. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah. But no, like I think it was like the other night I went down the rabbit hole of just going through music, and I was trying to figure out, because we're doing promotions for this podcast, and I was like, man, like let's find some good songs. And I grew up with 90s music, 90s music videos. What do you want to call it? Like teen drama movies. So it was really interesting to me because I love the song Delicate you guys do, but I like the acoustic version too. So I think on my Instagram story a few nights ago, I was like, this is the song Delicate, the instrumental version of the acoustic for when the girl's like at the end of the movie and she's like, oh my God, no one loves me. And then like the guy that's always been there shows up and it's like, I always loved you. And I'm like, perfect. And then they fast forward to the end of the movie. And then you have the actual Delicate song where they have kids, they have a family. It's like, you never gave up on me, did you? It's like, why would you give up on someone you love? And I'm like, so cheesy, but it fits.
That's awesome.
You really painted a picture there.
Yeah, that's what I do. Like I listen to music and then I'm like, man, why don't they use this in songs? And I'm sure if I knew every record producer or movie producer, they'd be like, okay, see that X on that person's name? Anytime he sends an email, don't listen to him. I'd be like, but they're great ideas. It's like, yeah, but that's the problem. They're great ideas we don't want.
Yeah.
I want to ask you to start off is, how did you guys meet, and where did the suit idea come to? Because I feel like this was like a How I Met Your Mother thing where you're like, I love Barney, we're going to just copy Barney.
In terms of how we met, our mothers were great friends. We've known each other since we were pretty much born, right? So we grew up together. We always vibed together. Like every time we would see each other growing up, it was always like it was never like we were forced to do something. It was always we gelled with one another because we're kind of opposites at the same time, but it meshed well. In terms of the suits, so I actually do love How I Met Your Mother, love Barney, but like I wasn't thinking that like on when we were actually talking about it. I think we were just at the studio one time where we were just like, you know what, when we perform, we always have to wear suits.
Yeah.
And it just kind of came to when anything we do, we just have to wear suits because like we love them.
I was
no matter what you're doing, you can get away with a lot more with the suit on.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it was fair because what I was actually going to do pre-interview is I didn't know if you guys were going to show up with a suit, and I was actually going to show up with a suit on, and I'm like, no, I don't want to take away their spotlight. It's like,
should have suited up with us.
No. I have a fun game that we're going to play at the end. We're going to we're going to have a fun game at the end that kind of includes the suit, so save that. But I want to ask you, because you did say that you were opposites. Like, explain that a little bit further, because I know they come up with opposites attract, but like, listen, I know a lot of girls out there and they're opposite of me. We don't attract at all.
Go ahead.
Well,
That's good.
yeah, just simple things like, being early and being late. There's one right there. Just, what? I can't think of anything right on the spot. You got anything there?
I'm a night person. You're a morning person.
There you go. I'll wake up at 6 a.m. to do something, whereas he'll stay up till 3 a.m. and I just won't tolerate it.
Yes. You like running. I hate running.
I love running. Huge runner.
What's another one that was good? I consider Adams the regimented one. I'm more of the I'll start here and I'll end up right there, and then all of a sudden I'll be there.
Whereas I'm very like, all right, let's stick to this, let's get it done, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
It's good. It's good because, like, again, like, it kind of gives you a difference of philosophy perspective as well. So I think that's interesting. But, like, I want to ask you, with the opposites kind of attracting theory here, it's like, who came up with the whole getting a red couch and going into places in Toronto and just being like, hey, like, you motherfuckers want to perform? Great, let's do this.
No, honestly, we both did.
Yeah.
We both, like, we had a photo shoot one time at our studio. This is when we first started out. We were just like, we needed an Instagram photo. It was like our first Instagram photo. We took it on the couch. We saw it and we were like, you know what? This is kind of cool. We should try to bring it somewhere. And then it ended up working out.
I like how, like, certain people, obviously, like, again, once you get your big kind of an Instagram photo or something where it's like, okay, we got to make it look professional. You're like, I never want it not to be a professional photo. Where in my case, I'm like, man, just put up a monkey picture on my profile. And then people, like, when they actually see me, they're like, not bad. He doesn't look that bad. I'm like, yeah, because you had this to compare it to. It's worse when you, like, go up and dress like 10 out of 10 and then people see you in public and like, damn, what happened to him? I'm like, no. This is always me.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. It's about being you, right? Yeah. Like, this is what you see for us is this is us. Like, this is what we love. This is what we stand for, and we're just glad that we get to show it in the way that we're able to show it.
I feel like now, if you ever post a video where Adams, if you're out running and you're not in a suit, people are going to be like, total fraud. What a fucking fraud.
I'm always in a suit. No one will ever catch me. Don't worry.
Yeah. Going swimming. It's like, we invited Adams. Why is he wearing a suit? It's like, that's just him, man. It's like, you go on a date night. They're like, I'm pretty sure you have that suit. Yeah, I just changed the tie. Excuse me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes we're a little overdressed for certain events, but it's always worth it.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a fun aspect I like about this, just from, I guess, the behind the scenes stuff, that I like that to me, it's behind the scenes, but then when I actually do a little bit more digging, even though you have it on your post, I'm like, man, how does that work? Because there's like a few videos. I think one you're at, I believe it was like a tennis court inside a hotel, and another one you're in an office. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then when you read the actual description, because people don't read anymore, it's like, oh yeah, we broke in here. I'm like, what are you guys doing? How do you even get in these places?
That's funny. No, I'll be completely honest. Like, sometimes it really depends on the story. Like, sometimes we, at the end of the day, we obviously didn't break into those places.
It's just to make it like,
But like, what might happen is somebody might on TikTok, they might see, oh, we broke in here, and they'll comment, you guys didn't break in here. And then we'll comment, did we or did we not?
And then they'll watch the video again.
Of course you didn't break in, and they'll spend all that time commenting. But by the time they're posted, they've already spent 30 seconds on the video, and it's hitting the algorithm now, and it's going right. So
and then it turns the negative comment, and it's like, wait a second, I kind of like this song, and then there's a fan.
That's
I mean, if we're gonna be full disclosure honest, I think I'm one of those people that did that, where it was like when we were in lockdown, and I seen you guys going around with a goddamn red couch around Toronto. I was like, what are you motherfuckers doing? We're in lockdown. And one of you commented like, relax, buddy. And I'm like, oh, he just called me buddy. I'm like,
that's funny.
It was like, it's just like, you know what? Because it's two sides. Like, I get people that hate on me, and then I'm like, okay, let's be smart about this. But then I'm also kind of a hater. So when I hear buddy, I'm just like, oh, triggers. I'm just still like, you did not just call me buddy guy. He's not your guy friend.
I like that.
Oh my.
No, you know what though? Honestly though, during those times, like, we were always sure we were out, but at the end of the day, we're not going to stop our progress. however, we were
smart about it.
We were smart about it. We would never be going into a crowd of people. We were always very, very distant is the word. We kept to ourselves, and we just kind of did what we did.
Yeah, I think the key part of those videos specifically is, we ran into an empty street.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we made sure we were away from people. We were doing the right thing.
Yeah, it's I like the way that you're presenting it, because it's like, I get the TikTok generation. I'm not one per se, but it's like some girl will stumble across and be like, "Ooh, bad boy," and then it's like when they see it, they're just like, "Hold on, he's not actually that bad." It's like, I can change him. It's like, no, when has that ever worked? It's never worked.
That's funny. That's really good.
Yeah. It's just it's like I dated Crash last night. It's like, oh, is that the guy who broke into here? Funny story. He didn't actually do it. It's like, I want to believe it.
I like that. But like at the same time, yeah, like we're also straight up about that too. Like we're not really here to dupe people. Like if somebody actually asks us what's really going on, we'll tell them the full
story. I mean, it's all presentation. It's like I like to tell people when they come on, like if I ever have like a Michelle Branch on or a Reba, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a great podcaster in Newfoundland, and they're like, oh, that's really great. I'm like, there's like 3 podcasts in Newfoundland. So it's like, you're the number 1 podcaster in Newfoundland. That gotta be crazy. I'm like, okay, what's me and my cousin Daryl? So, so like Daryl hasn't committed a podcast in like a year, so I guess I'm doing okay.
Yep, you're doing great.
Yeah. No, there's definitely more, but it's always self humor. I want to ask though, of course, when you come up with these songs, like where did you get these influences to? Because in my mind, I think I even tweeted out I think you liked the tweet. Now it could have been like a year ago, but I like finding new music, but of course I like, Canadian talent as well. So I was like, man, a dream concert for me would be like, you have the Arkells, you have like 1975. And I'm like, yeah. And you can have Crash Adams open because you get a little bit of that jive. You get Canadian content. 1975 is all over the place, but that's how I kind of stumbled across your music. I think is like Spotify came up. Instagram keeps you great sponsors of like, hey, like check out this music. I found, I think, Griff and other artists through that. And I'm like, I'm glad that we have this because, Much Music's kind of like, we don't do music anymore. I'm like, but that's the only thing that you're supposed to do.
But they're coming back though. You know what? I think they'll have a good run in the next little bit. Hopefully they help some up and coming artists kind of break in a market that nobody really takes the time to help. Right. So we'll see what happens with everything.
Yeah. Like my biggest worry is with that is like, I don't know the whole backstory, but I think like Ed the Sock had the original idea. And then like Bell kind of was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Glad we thought of it. It's like, no, you didn't. But like Much Music's to me was like, okay, we're going to bring up a whole bunch of TikTokers. And I'm like, man, if you go back to the original cast of Much Music, they are basically saying, no. We don't want like the TikTokers because their thing is like they're not going to stand for something. And I'm like, that's fair, each their own. But that would be my worry as a TikToker having you on a show and being like, yeah. Oh, what'd you guys say? It's like, it's like, come on.
Honestly, I couldn't. I don't really know. I guess we'll.
It's all up in the air. It's all up in the air.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, of course, like going off that a little bit, was where were you getting your influences from? Like, what were you listening to growing up?
I'd say the 1975 is a big part of my influence.
Without them, there wouldn't be us.
Without them, there wouldn't be us. But the interesting thing about us is obviously we have our past and the music we used to listen to, but we get a lot of influence from just. Sometimes I'll get influence from a song that I don't even know the artist of, but it'll just pop in the car, or the song will pop in the car and he'll just make a melody over top of something, then we'll switch around. So it's very back and forth. I'd say. Yeah,
I would say you brought in rock roots.
Yeah.
I wasn't really rock until pretty recently. Mm-hmm. Like now, I really like rock, but. I came from probably a hip hop dance music kind of background. But to me, like I got a little bit, I guess bored with that genre, not because like the artists are bad or anything, but I just heard it so much day in and day out that I kind of was looking for a little bit of a change. And I guess it was great for the time in my life that it was there. And then, so I brought those influences, you brought your rock influence. We kind of kind of how would I say it? I don't want to say compromise, because compromise is a bad
Like kind of gelled it together.
We gelled it together in a way that made sense for us.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like your kind of example there of like, you know, because I know a lot of musicians probably get this, but it's like, oh, like, what's your favorite song, or like, why did you choose the genre you did? And it's kind of like a loaded question, because it's like, no, I don't think anyone in the history of the world just listens to one genre of music, even if they might say that this is their favorite. It's like, I could be out shooting a basketball, and one minute I'm listening to Jay-Z, and then next minute I'm listening to like Luke Combs, and someone's like, how did you just switch the dial? I'm like, well, one minute I'm doing free throws, and the next minute I'm doing layups. So obviously 2 different tunes, guys. It's like, I can't listen to Jay-Z, like, you know, running around. I'm like, yeah, Jay-Z. And the next minute you're taking free throws, you're like, she did me dirty. She did me dirty. And it's like, what? It's like, relax, guys. This is how I get in my mojo.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I've caught myself listening to like singer-songwriters with just an acoustic, like, who is it, like Sabrina Carpenter, like that kind of stuff. Him, like, I'll be in the gym and I'll be listening to like Half Life by Banners.
Yeah, no. I have a gym workout playlist. The same 8 songs on loop.
I go from playing like ball hockey, where I will listen to, so if it's on like the way to a championship game, it's like on the bus ride there, I'll listen to like Eminem's Venom. And then next minute goes from like Ed Sheeran's Shape of You, and they're like, what are you planning on doing? Dancing with the opponent? I'm like, shut up, Keith. You don't know me, Keith. Maybe if I score, I'll just take them by the hand and I'll be like, I just scored on you, and they'll be like, why did you do that?
That's a good way to piss people off.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Always the passive aggressive way.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to ask you now, like, a lot of the stuff that you do with Instagram, and I believe it's like TikTok as well, it's involving either the couch, the suits, combination of two, or you get like, sometimes you get the like, if there's people running around the streets, you get them involved. Like, I think I've seen one earlier, and I thought it was really cool that you implemented, was you were filming a video for, I think it was Monsters, and some guy was just doing flips in front of the camera, and you're like, rather than like berate him and be like, what the fuck, get the fuck out of my shot, and you were just like, let's show his skills. And I'm like, I would like it if he fell on his face, and you're like, this guy just started doing flips and he fell on his face, but we used it anyway.
He was awesome.
We honestly couldn't say no to that guy, and it actually was completely random.
Yeah.
He had no idea I was going to be at Young and Dundas. We had no idea who he was, and he started doing flips. You know,
it fit perfectly into the video. It looked like it was planned, but like,
it looked great, unbelievable.
It was great.
So I mean, obviously we did it a couple times after we realized how good it would be. Yeah. But I think we ended up using maybe the first take. I don't know exactly.
It definitely was the first take that we used.
So
okay.
It was like, it was great. I couldn't believe it. It just happened to work out so great. And the reason why it was so great is because that made the TikTok video that we posted about it take off. And after the TikTok video got 1 million views, which led to maybe like 20,000 on YouTube. So that was 20,000 people that wouldn't be seeing it if this guy had not decided to do flip. What, Sketchmaster?
Sketchmaster.
Okay.
If he hadn't decided to do flips in the video, it just would have never happened the way it did.
Yeah, like, do you find now, going through like Dundas and wherever you kind of situate the couch too, like, do you find now that people kind of embrace you, or like they'll come up and be like, oh, you guys are like, they might not just say they don't know who you are. Some of them might know the music and know who you are, but like, do some people be like, yeah, they look familiar. Are they on like TikTok? Are they on something? And then like kind of embrace you or ask for an autograph?
Definitely. When the red couch is out, there's a lot of interest when we're downtown.
I like when sometimes parents will have their kids on, they'll be standing at the intersection, like standing at the corner, and they'll be waiting with their kid, like, watch.
Like, watch.
And then we go do it, and like their kids smiling. That's my favorite part. I love that.
I like that they're encouraging it, or at least they're not like, look at these brats over here doing this thing. Cause like then it gets instilled in their mind that's like, oh, okay. But yeah, as long as like no one's getting hurt, which it's fine. Cause it's like, you do it at a stop sign and then you wait and then go. But exactly. I like that they're go ahead.
Sorry, no worries. No, sorry to cut you off. I don't know. Like, there's no, we're not being jerks about it. Like, we're waiting till the walking sign says go, and then we get out of there as fast as we can. Like, we're not really blocking. We're not really breaking the law.
No.
That's when or hurting anybody. That's our whole thing. Just there for smiles.
Yeah, I like that there's one that I looked at. I think it was maybe during the pandemic. And I like how it was almost like rushed. You get the red couch. I think it was for Caroline. You were just doing like almost like the lip sync video and getting it posted. But it was fine to me because it's like I think in the background, and I like the behind the scenes stuff as well, but it's like go, go, go. It's like we have this much time. And then it's like getting things. Then like I just love how one person just gets up and move. There's two people that have to take the couch, and everyone else is like, all right, that's your job. Like we did our thing. You take the couch. It's like, really? It's like that's the only thing we're here for is to carry the couch.
That's funny. No, a lot more than that. What we actually do is Chris and Nick that's usually ends up. It's usually.
Oh, that's who it is. I never heard of them. Never spoke to them ever.
But they're just as much a part of Crash Adams as we are. Chris is our drummer / produces with us as well. Like he
right here
produces. Yeah, literally. We're in Chris's studio right now. Nick as well. Nick's bass player. He's always there for content. They're always there for content. Everything we do, we usually it's usually the four of us doing it together.
Yeah, it's very innovative because I want to give you credit because again, it's like you're trying to make a name for yourself, and it's like we're in a world now where it's like you can post your music videos, you can post like all your content, and it might catch on, it might not, but like again, no, I know it wasn't planned because you guys just elaborated on it earlier, but like the suits obviously give you a little bit of a difference from everyone. Having the couch makes a difference. I think your kind of template or things that you come up with for ideas make it a little bit more noticeable. Like I give you credit too, because a lot of the times when you're doing this stuff, you have to have almost like, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like you have to have balls or big cojones because it's like, you got to go and do it. And if it fails, or if you don't get the reaction that you want, you're like, all right, are we going to post this? Like, why not? Because we live in a world where people are going to post all their highs and never post a low. And then people always are like comparing their highs to someone else's highs. And it's like, that's not fair because they're not going to post their low. But I like how you have the one where you have the couch. You're like, you can win this couch if you let us play the whole song. Now, they don't know that. But there have been ones where they like shut the door on you. They're confused. And I'm like, man, I would be looking at that and being like, holy fuck. Like, we're not posting that. But you guys are like, whatever.
Might as well, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, like we don't take ourselves too seriously. That's something that I think helps a lot. Like we like to just, if it's funny, even at our expense, might as well throw it up there.
we just like the way the videos flowed and stuff, so we just decided to post them, and then eventually we finally found a winner. So.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the winner one. It's just that I've seen
that one. It's great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I've seen the ones where like the lady comes at the door where it's like the typical mom where she has her phone and she's kind of like, what? And I'm just like, okay. And I've seen ones where it's like a dude is like, did you order this band for me? It's like, no. It's like, relax. She doesn't love you that much. She thinks she can change you, but she's not going to change you. But no, I thought it was really interesting because I was like, man, if someone just showed up to my house and start performing, I'd be like, yeah, there's a band at my house. Come over, like quickly. Right? We're all,
you would think.
Especially in Newfoundland. If you guys try that down in Newfoundland, depending on where you are in Newfoundland, you might get people that would actually join in. You're like, no, this is our thing. They're like, bring on the fiddler, bring on this. And it's like, no, this is our thing. Why are you guys joining in?
No, we'd be right with that.
Yeah. Just like knock on someone's door and be like, Diane, there's a band here. It's like, all right, Doug, it's like, Doug, when's the last time you played the fiddle? Well, 3 months ago, Diane. It's like, well, get it out and join them.
Yeah, we definitely knocked on a lot of houses, and we got nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you finally got something. Like someone kind of finally said, yeah. Even if you're just like, yo, you got a couch now. They're like, oh, that's great. I want to ask too, is like going through the whole, I guess, pandemic, how did you guys manage to deal with the pandemic? Because there have been artists out there that were kind of taking the pandemic and saying, all right, I'm going to take this as downtime. I feel like those are the famous of the famous actors. And now that it's like, damn, I don't give a shit about my my fan base. This is my time. And then there's other ones that are like, man, we were just catching fire. And then this thing happens. So how did you approach the pandemic?
Well, we were catching fire. Well, actually, no, we weren't even catching fire before the pandemic. We caught fire during the pandemic.
Yeah, I guess
actually just before.
You could call it catching fire. I still think nobody's seen anything yet.
Exactly, yeah.
But
relative.
But like it's we got a nice little wave. But honestly, it was pretty much it hit, and it was like, okay, we could either pack it in, but we're all in. We're making this happen. Doesn't matter what wall you put in front of us. If we have to kick the door down a few times, doesn't bother us. Well, we've been doing that since the very beginning. Like, our whole thing is on the come up. It's all about just kind of smashing through walls and kicking doors down, because nobody's going to help you. Nobody cares about you, first of all, until you give them a reason to care about you. They care about themselves most. That's what I've seen. And until you provide value to them, you're not going to be noticed. So whether there's a pandemic or not, for us was just like, let's not stop. Let's keep going, because it's sink or swim right now. It's either we make it or we don't. Nobody's going to cry for us if we don't.
Yeah, I'm glad that went in the positive way, because once with the moment where you're just like, no one cares about you. I'm like, imagine if you played instrumental music, or like, it's like very encouraging music where it's like, hey, this is Crash from Crash Adams. Listen, nobody cares about you. I'd be like, done, out of here.
Sorry, you know what? I have a habit of doing that. I just sometimes it just comes out of my mouth very bluntly. But like, I'm always I'm not about sugarcoating things. I'm always
no, that's fair. I feel like we need that more in the world. I'm pretty blunt when it comes to people when they're like, "Oh, you have a podcast or whatever." I'm like, "Listen, don't get too excited, there, lady. It's only a podcast. Like, everyone has a podcast today." They're like, and then
a lot of people are trying to make it in the podcast world, just like musicians. I've definitely seen an influx of that.
Yeah. That's where I kind of get in the anger mode, where I'm like, man, like John Mayer, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. It's like, yeah, but I'm John Mayer. I can sing. I'm like, all right, check, please. John Mayer has a podcast. Move on over.
Yeah, but same thing. Well, same thing. You reached out to us. How many times did you possibly reach out to us? You kept going and kept.
Oh my God. Let me see the list.
That's like, I respect that. To be
200.
No way.
No, but the fact that you were so persistent, because sometimes, like, it might just not line up with what we have going on, but the fact that you just kept coming back, like, that's,
what the truth.
That's a win. That's a win.
We just get there's just so many things going on. We just get distracted so easily, because this will happen, then Tobin must and then this will happen, and this will happen, this will happen. Right. So that's
to be completely honest with you, it's like I do that with a lot of acts, but at the same point, it's like, it's kind of after what you're saying. It's like almost like no one's going to feel sorry for you. No one's going to no one's going to give you a break. And it's kind of sad, because I come from a communications background where it's like PR. And when I was, I think 12, I had a stroke, and like the Detroit Red Wings, WWE sent me a whole care package. And I'm like, I reach out to those organizations now, not Detroit, because it's kind of hockey. It's not started yet, but with WWE, and like, you don't get interviews because they already have the bump and their own stuff. And in my own dark sense of humor, I'm like, they wanted this motherfucking kid to die. They're like, all right, send him a care package. And like, we're looking good. And then like 20 years later, you're like, I survived, motherfuckers. They're like, oh, fuck. Like, shit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, I haven't personally dealt with the WWE, so I can't really speak to that. But you can see that there is this trend to support when it's beneficial to you, and when it's not beneficial to you, to forget about it.
Yeah. So, wait, you weren't in WWE? I thought there was a wrestler called Crash in WWE. That's not you?
Actually,
no.
That's funny.
Crash Holly.
Although I would probably make an appearance. That'd be hilarious.
That would be.
Imagine us jumping off the top ropes.
Yeah.
But it would have to be a duo.
Tag team match.
I feel like you guys would be like on AEW Dynamite, where it's like the Young Bucks would be like, our next opponent's Crash Adams, and you guys just come out in suits. It's like, we're ready, and then you just get squashed. Like,
that's probably what would happen.
Yeah. But no, I kind of agree with you in the terms of like, yeah, when you reach out to acts, sometimes they have the time. If they don't, they don't. But hopefully they come on like you did, which I appreciate, because there have been definitely times where myself as someone with a podcast, I kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, they're not available now, but when will they be available? And like, how do you kind of maintain that composure? Because there are times that, as shitty as it's going to sound, I feel like I relate to Trump, where I'm like, they're never coming on. They said no. They're not happening. And then it's like,
great impression.
It's like, they're not coming on. No. And then it's like, well, you can try in the future. no, they said no. That's it. Never gonna happen. It's like,
That's funny.
relax. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that you did come on. Now, to kind of make it a little bit of a fun aspect here, to kind of give it a little bit of break from the interview, I want to play a game of Rate My Ties.
Oh,
Ooh,
nice.
Wow.
No, don't get too excited. It's pretty dull. But look at this. This is a plain white tie. Why would you give this rating? Like, why would you wear this white tie with?
White? Ooh, what are you wearing that with? You're going black on black with that, with the white tie on the top.
I feel like I am going High School Musical-esque, where I'm just so like,
right?
Yeah.
You know what? I gotta go. I'm gonna be tough on it. I'm critical because I have the tie. I'm giving you a 3.5 on the white tie.
You know what? I'm gonna give you a 4 just because you're a great guy.
All right, so that's a white one. Now, let's try this one. This one was one that I had back in I think high school. I was like super happy to get my first suit, and I was like, man, let's be funky. And now when I look at it years later, I'm like, God damn, was it ever funky? Look at this.
What design is that?
I don't even know what you want to call it. I just call this loser who went in and said, "Give me a tie."
I mean, it's your first suit, though.
Yeah. So it's gray and it has like light blue and dark blue. Like, I feel like this is where you kind of like, you wear to a divorce.
It gets you divorced. It causes the divorce.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I would change my rating on the white. I'll give the white a 4.5. I'm going to give that a 3.5.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, let's go for something a little bit more corny. Let's go with this dandy old Christmas tie.
What would you? Oh, that's a Christmas tie. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. We have a nice Christmas tie too, though. I'll give the Christmas tie a 7.
Yeah. I want to say that I would wear this Christmas tie out, but then I'm afraid that people would be like, try to take this tie off me. And then they'd be like, I don't even know if you can get this tie anymore. This was like my brother's tie from like the 1990s. Wow. So yeah.
Back in the next 2 years.
Let's see what we have here. Oh, this one's not too bad. Let me see if I can get the right end here. Ooh, a nice red one. Well, I think it's nice.
That looks like Dad on a golf trip.
That looks like a school uniform.
This is actually fun story. This is the tie that Avril Lavigne wore in Skater Girl or Skater Boy.
Actually?
No.
Oh man. No, I was thinking like maybe you saw her wearing that and you went out to go get that.
Oh yeah, I definitely went. I seen her on the set when I was 8, and I was like, "Give me that fucking tie!" And she was like, "There's a person strangling me on set." I'm like, "Just give me the tie."
Now I gotta give that. I'll give that one probably. I think that might be my least favorite one.
That's fair.
Red blue. I give that a 3.
All right, let's go with one last one here. Let's see.
Something.
We've got this one that's kind of similar.
Okay.
This one's a blue.
But the color scheme's a little better.
Yeah. I like this one. This is like my go-to tie for like if I go out on a date and I'm like, whether it's successful or failure, I will wear this tie because at least I can go home and be like, at least I wore my favorite color.
Yeah. I think we need to send you some ties.
Yeah, I think that's what maybe some bow ties. Switch up the look a little bit.
Yeah, bow ties. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I feel like I'll have to. I mean, I don't have a lot of ties.
I'm gonna give that a 5.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You have to come up with like your own kind of Crash Adams tie.
I know that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, if we can make it fashionable, we will. We're about.
Who cares about fashion? What are you guys talking about? Just get a kind of Crash Adams tie, and then people would wear it and be like, "I'm trendy because it's a Crash Adams tie," and like that's how this works now.
But I still want it to look good at the same time, just in case they see somebody who doesn't know who Crash Adams is. At least that person will say like, "Oh, that's a cool tie," rather than like, "What kind of tie are you wearing?" And then they have to explain that it's a Crash Adams tie.
Well, that's how conversation starts. Like when you see someone wearing a band shirt, and it's like, who was it? The one that I think it's a comedian that makes fun of it. Of like, you see someone wearing a Tom Petty shirt, and then like they'll ask who Tom Petty is, and you're like, "You're not old enough to know Tom Petty, or you're too young. Don't worry about it." But like, it starts a conversation.
Yep, it always does.
I want to ask too, just to kind of get back into like, I guess a little bit of the fun aspect of the interview here. Not that it hasn't been fun already. For me, it has. Are you guys gamers at all?
I'll be completely honest, not at all.
Really? You've never wanted one?
But like, I don't really have time, to be honest. I don't have. I spend all my time
Yeah, I don't even
doing
have
something
I don't
related
even
to
have a
Crash
gaming
Atoms.
console.
Really? Like you've never grown up and played like a
I used to when I was younger. I used to play like I'd play FIFA.
FIFA, only FIFA.
I play Call of Duty.
Really? Okay.
Like Modern Warfare 2. I used to play that. But like I just the moment this kind of started, it's either like I just don't have time. Yeah, I could be working on Crash Atoms.
I'd rather be trying to make a new song than play a game. That's just how it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. Like, so, like, besides doing the music side of things, like, what would be some outside interests that people have? Like, I know you mentioned a bit about the running, and Crash probably says sleeping.
Definitely.
But, like, what other ones would you have outside of that?
Outside interests, love watching soccer, love working out.
Yeah, definitely.
That's things connected with that pretty much. But other than that, if I'm not doing that, I'm kind of doing this. So
yeah. I'm either working out.
Yeah.
Or doing Crash Atoms.
Or maybe watching
sleep.
Basketball.
No, I don't watch. I don't really watch basketball.
Only in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't really. We're just kind of all in on this. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather be doing this with everything now and then get to do it for the rest of my life.
But it's good to have outside interests because I find personally when I go and do something that I'm interested in that's not music, I kind of refresh and I'm able to come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say if to add on to that, then it would probably just be hanging out having a conversation and actually hanging out with friends.
Yeah,
that's definitely something that
I think that's great. It's a huge key to move the needle forward in whatever you're doing. You need to be fresh. So
yeah, I like that idea because it's almost like if you focus so much, and I'm not like kind of shitting on the idea at all here, but it's like if you focus so much energy on one thing, you kind of get drained. Like if say if my day to day was okay, interview with Crash Atoms, edit another interview, post some clips from another interview, I'd be like at the end of the day, I'd be like, that interview that I got scheduled for like tomorrow? No, I'm done. Like I'm too tired. But if I vary it from like, okay, interview, play some basketball, play some video games, do that, then it's almost like, okay, it becomes a little bit different where you're like, oh, I just did not spend 3 hours doing something the same thing. So now I can come back with a like kind of a new approach. Like I look at editing that way. I have like hours of interviews to edit and I'll just be like, let's do 30 minutes. We'll come back because after a while, all the ums, ahs and everything, you'll be like, I'm ignoring this because I want this to just be done.
For sure.
I don't know. I wish I was like that, but I have a hard time. It's just how I am. I get anxious if I'm stepping away too much.
Oh no, we know that. You expressed that earlier. You go from A, Z, X, W.
He says like step, for example, I mean I like to take that approach. I like to make sure that I'm, keeping my mind healthy.
Yeah.
But it's not like do 30 minutes and then go take a break. It's like do a pretty much a full day.
Well, you're a workhorse here.
Yeah.
And then, go work out and then maybe, I don't know, watch some soccer. And then the next day you come back fresh. So because if you leave what you're doing too many times, you're going to lose kind of your flow, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you there. It's like I just find like to each their own. Some people like to have a day, 2 days, whatever, to take a break. For me, it's almost like I've done that, but at the same point, it's like you get into the habit where if you're doing like an episode every week and then like all of a sudden it starts to cryle up on you where it's like, hey, did you know you're supposed to have an episode out this week? I'm like, yeah, that's edited, right? They're like, no, you have 4 interviews now to edit before. And I'm like, oh, damn, what did I do for that week? It's like, well, actually you slept, you watched WWE. And it's like, I don't know why you did that because you're not going to be a wrestler. I'm like, leave me alone, Mom. You don't know.
That's
like, one day you become a wrestler, and it's like, why? What is your finisher? It's called the Mom Crusher. It's like, why? Because my mom didn't believe in me, and she crushed my dreams. I want to have a little bit of, I guess, to kind of clue up the interview. Like we're at around the 40-minute mark here, and of course, I'll edit that out as well. But I want to make sure that we kind of wrap it up, get things done here. But I want to play a little bit more of a different kind of a fun game with you of kind of a random question where I'm going to toss out a random question. You can either like dodge it, you can give your own answer, but it's just for a fun aspect that you might not get in other interviews because that's what we like to do here. Be a different type of interview.
I love it. I love it. We've had a great time so far.
Yeah, it's been great.
Well, I'm glad because I want to use some of this for a promo when we do it. And I'm just like, man, we got to find some good clips here, which we have. We have found plenty. So for I guess a random question, do you remember, I guess, the first concert that you guys ever went to? Not like together, but like maybe just individual.
Yes. Yes, I remember. Go
I
ahead.
do not. I do not.
I think it was like Mariah Carey, or no, it was like Mariah Carey or like Backstreet Boys.
I'm with you with the Backstreet Boys.
It was Backstreet Boys. It was Backstreet Boys.
Okay. No, that's
Concert.
They had like their Millennium. They had like their Millennium 2000. I think that was their concert.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like to me being in Newfoundland, it's almost like when they come here, it's like, here comes Nick on his walker. I'm like, God damn it. Like, I don't want Nick on his walker. I wanted Nick when he was like, 2000s Nick. Not, yeah. But
They're making a comeback now, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, I've actually seen, so it's funny because I mentioned this in another interview and someone actually bought it hook, line, and sinker, kind of like you did with the Avril tie. Sorry, Crash. But I mentioned like, oh yeah, it's like there's members of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and they're going to form together and they're going to call B-Sync. And she's like, is that actually a thing? I'm like, no, they're just buddies that are dancing.
But it is a thing. No, they're supposed to be like meshing together, Backstreet Boys. And
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to be called B-Sync.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
yeah.
think so.
I want to ask you your most embarrassing moment that you can remember, whether it's, as a group or even in your childhood.
I remember.
Go ahead.
When I was a kid, don't ask me how I remember this. I was at a family friend's house and there was a toy guitar on the sink and like it was my family friends. So I was a little kid. So I'm like, oh my God, I love that guitar. I love the guitar. So while my parents were at the table and everybody was at the table, like I went into the kitchen and I grabbed the guitar and I put it behind my back, right? And I was like this, and they're like, what do you have behind your back? And like I was like trying to sneak out, and instead of like walking out, like shuffling out, I turned around to walk out of the kitchen. So it was like, so I was hiding with it behind my back, and then I turned around like that to walk out.
That's like something you see. That's like something you see from like the Three Stooges, where it's like, boop, 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 boop.
That was probably
Yeah. I mean, this is just what I can remember. When I was a kid, my dad used to take me to a lot of Raptors games, and they usually yell defense, defense. So for about, I'd say 3 to 5 years, anywhere in that time frame, I used to go to these games with his friends and yell out hee ha, hee ha, because I had no clue what he said. And he finally broke to me when I was a little bit older, saying, "Did you know that it was actually defense?" And I was just absolutely embarrassed.
Yeah, that was actually yesterday. He told you that because you were still going to the.
It was pretty recent, to be honest.
So when they were on their championship run and you're listening to Sportsnet, I was wondering who was yelling out "hee ha." I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, but
I
I don't think we get embarrassed. We're pretty. It takes a lot to get embarrassed. Like
I haven't been embarrassed lately, to be honest.
I get embarrassed all the time. It's just how you play it off. It's like, I make the joke that if you go up to someone in a bar and you kind of know them, or like you thought you know them for like, it's especially when it was like university, Brian, I would go to like, so I went to Carleton in Ottawa. So you go to a pub, you're like, hey, we sat together in class. It's like, no, we didn't. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you had long hair. I'm sorry. In Newfoundland, we don't have a lot of long hair people. They're like, what's that supposed to mean? I'm like, I'm a Newfoundlander. It's supposed to be the other way around. You're supposed to make fun of me for my accent. Why am I doing? Like, I'm terrified.
That's funny.
I want to ask too, just kind of a little bit of a different aspect here as well. But when people, because I know you mentioned this earlier, like when people buy your music, when people purchase it, or any kind of contribution, but like, do you think now in a world where people, because I know we used to have LimeWire, we used to have all these things that caused our computers a lot of viruses, but I'm sure our iPods were like, thanks, free music. So yeah, the iPod survives. Your computer that gave you that does not. But I want to ask you, like, how do you find the music landscape today? Like, do you think it's a lot easier now because you have Spotify, you can create sponsorships? Because we don't really have the TV aspect as much anymore, where it's like you can go on a Much Music, you can go on a late night show. Like, I know they still exist, but people don't really watch them.
Political. That stuff's very political. I find, like being in. Think about it. When there's one media channel, millions of probably hundreds of thousands, probably millions of artists trying to get on the same media channels. It's just so hard to break through. But now the fact that TikTok exists, the fact that social media has just made it so much more easy that if you have a message that people want to hear, they'll tune in. I think it's easier than ever to make it. Not to say it's easy, because it's not easy in any.
No.
You have to be willing to put blood, sweat, and tears in. But yeah, like it's heavy. I'm thankful for the time that we're living in.
Yeah, social media is the biggest aspect, and obviously for artists, when you get streamed, you're not making that much money at all. But it's not about that. It's about how can you get that audience, bring it over to your other platforms, monetize it. So there's a lot of different ways to make money right now for artists. So it's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because the example I was going to give you is like, when I think I've seen a lot of UK, because like Instagram doesn't care pretty much where you're from. It's like they're going to just, like, if someone pays for a sponsorship or an ad, they'll come across wherever it wants to come across. But it's like, I've come across, like, I think Griff, which is a UK artist. There's been like Macy Peters, another UK, but I'm like, why am I seeing this in Canada? But at the same time, like, I don't care, because you're going to, like, if I've stopped kind of watching like late night TV shows because the whole landscape has changed. So I don't think I would know who Macy Peters is, who these people are, without, Instagram ads, whatever. Like, because past Brian would probably stay up and watch like Craig Ferguson and be like, oh, I like that act. Okay, let me go see if I can find their music. Mm-hmm. But like present day, it's just scroll. So if I see something and I scroll back up and I'm like, it caught my eye, or that kind of, and then you're like, listen to it a few times and then download it. Like, essentially, that's how this interview kind of all started way back when, where it was like during the pandemic, I was like, how are we going to do this podcast when there's not a lot of stuff that people want to promote? And I'm like, let's go on Instagram. Let's just, pass the day. And then your songs come up, other artists' songs come up. I'm like, interesting. Like, let's do that.
Awesome.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
That's exactly like that's pretty much exactly why we're so thankful with today, because this can happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just because you happen to be scrolling.
Yeah. And the other thing too with technology, I know, like, I'm not a big technology nerd, but I don't think interviews like this would happen without technology. Because it's like, if we were not in this world, it's almost like, let's do an interview. It's like, oh, you guys are coming to Toronto? Are you coming to Newfoundland? It's like, no, like, how the fuck are we going to set that up? It's like, I don't know, Keith. Go out and sing with them like you said you were going to promise to with their fiddle.
We keep hearing about
it's my neighbor. He's like, plug me in your podcast. I'm like, Keith, there's Daryl, my cousin Daryl. And he's like, he hasn't come out with a podcast in like 3 years. I'm like, well, then go to him. He's the number 2 podcast in Newfoundland. I'm number 1.
Oh my.
I want to close it out, guys. I want to ask you, like, what do you see yourselves? Well, I was going to say, what do you see yourselves doing in like 10 years? I was waiting for an answer, like, I want to be an astronaut. It's like, no, you don't. But like, where do you see this going? Like, what do you want for your future goals in like 2022? And that sounds crazy to even sound to say that, but like, where do you all want this to go? Like, what's your end goal here?
Go ahead, dog.
There's not just one end goal. I'd say there's so many avenues that we want to reach. I know personally, one of my goals is to play at the Scotiabank Arena. That's been my goal since I was first started playing guitar. But then again, that's just one layer of it. And then once you get that, there's the other layer and the next layer. But I think overall, I mean, Crash would probably be saying this next. Our goal is to just raise the vibrations of the world and just, bring positivity to as many people as possible with our music, our content. I'm sure you can see our music and content is very positive. It's very upbeat. And that's the message that we want to portray.
Yep. I think there's always the next goal at the end of the day, whether it's, I don't know, I want to be number 1 on Billboard, but then once you be number 1 on Billboard, then I want to do this and I want to do that. At the end of the day, what you can always can always come back to is raising people's vibration to, if somebody who just hears of us tomorrow, hears our music, and all of a sudden their life changes in a positive way because they now start thinking positively, they now start bringing things into their life because of their vibration. That's what term we use. Then that's a win. Yeah. That's a win. And the more people we can affect that way, the better we can leave this world when we're gone.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Now, I like your goal there of like the Scotiabank place, but like, has it ever been, I guess, a dream of yours? And I'm not trying to put dreams in your head because, that's what parents do when you're younger. But like, Budweiser stage, is that something that you would be like really amped up for?
Yeah, right? Like that's definitely
I just found that every
just
time.
at a lower capacity than
Scotiabank
Arenas. That's the only difference. Right?
I just found when I went to Scotiabank, there was a certain energy, and I would just walk away inspired. But Budweiser stage, definitely 100%.
For sure.
That's 100%.
Yeah, definitely. That's an epic. That's an epic venue. But yeah, exactly. Scotiabank's been like I said, that's where the Backstreet Boys were when I was young. Right, like that's the first place I saw them. So it brings you to the roots.
Yeah, like I think it's interesting because in my mind, and again, I'm not from the Toronto area, but like, I think it was like really interesting because I still kind of think of it as like the Air Canada Center for like the longest part of me. And when I see acts coming through Canada, whether they're like a United States act or a UK act, it's pretty much like Toronto and then maybe Vancouver, or Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. And I'm like, all right, I picked a really shitty town to stay in if I was like music wise, because it was like Ottawa. But like country acts come through Ottawa, which I'm okay with. But like as a Newfoundlander, I think over time I was like, man, the Budweiser stage seems like such like a cool, embracing atmosphere where it's like out of nowhere. Again, if you're in Toronto, obviously you know all about this, but out of nowhere to me, it's like all of a sudden you have a stage outside. It's like summertime vibes. It's almost like, hey, there's the Air Canada, or like, there's the Scotiabank, and then there's the Budweiser stage. And if at this rate, if I was like performing, I'd be like, I kind of like the Budweiser stage atmosphere. But then after going there, I'd probably be like, I don't know.
You know what? No, they're both awesome. Actually both great.
They each have their own their perks.
Yeah.
Their pros and cons. Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel. Did you? It's kind of like a funny related question here, but like, I know going down through Instagram and stuff on social media, like I don't know if you've ever seen this clip, but I think it's still hilarious to me. But it's like I think there was a rapper at a concert, and then there's like a sign language girl, and like he thinks, and he thinks she's sign languaging this like dancing, and she's and then like I was like, would you ever get that for your own concerts?
Oh, for sure.
I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, just don't make the mistake. Just know that she is sign languaging, and
we would set that up. For accessibility.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tobin Tonight. Our thanks to Crash Adams for coming on to the show. Remember, you can find past, present, and future episodes on TobinTonight.com, Spotify, and iTunes. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and leave a comment or two. For Tobin and myself, this is Jacob saying, thanks for listening, and good night.